Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more juicy content from me.
Stop feeling overwhelmed once and for all. Yes. So, by the time you finish listening and watching this, you will have 7 tips that will help you stop feeling overwhelmed. Now, don't answer this question, but have you ever felt overwhelmed? Yeah, of course, everybody has, right? Now, the thing we don't realize, though, is that we don't have to feel overwhelmed, okay? There's a difference between feeling overwhelmed and being overwhelmed, right? So what if you have too many tasks? What if you have many emergencies, etc., etc.? But the truth is this, right? The older you get, the busier life gets. I always say the older you get, the busier life gets and the more expensive it gets. That's just the way things are. So instead of waiting that, oh, around the corner somewhere, I'm not going to feel overwhelmed anymore. Life is going to get more simple, blah, 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 blah. No, deal with it right now so that you can stop feeling overwhelmed rather than waiting till the sweet by and by, whenever that may be, where you will be less busy or something. Yeah, whatever. So instead of looking to the presence or absence of challenges to dictate whether you're overwhelmed or not, look inside, okay? Now, I am going to give you 7 steps to banishing overwhelm from your life. Number 1, change the way you think. Change the way you think. Feeling overwhelmed is just a feeling, like any other feeling. And like I talked about, and you've got the power, you have the power to change your feelings and to change how you feel, okay? Now, a lot of people feel overwhelmed, and the mistake they make is that they start to power through the tasks they have to do. Like, well, once I finish these tasks, I'm not going to feel overwhelmed anymore. But what that does, it makes you more anxious, and it affects your ability to complete whatever task it is you're trying to do. So this is my, I would say, tool for changing the way you think when you and the way you feel when you feel overwhelmed. I do this thing, I call it breaking state. Okay? When you start to feel overwhelmed, stop what you're doing and do a calming activity. Now, if you're driving in your car, obviously, you're not going to be able to stop what you're doing and do a calming activity. But even if you're driving in your car, you know what you can do? You can change the station, right? Put on some music. If you're listening to rock, put on some classical. If you're listening to classical, put on some rock. So when those feelings come up, it's like now you're telling the feelings, stop. I've caught you, right? Okay, so you break state. And when you break state, you tell yourself that this is a feeling and it will pass, okay? Remember what we said. Overwhelm a lot of times doesn't always have to do with the number of tasks you have, because sometimes you can power through 25 tasks and then sometimes one task and you're like, overwhelm, right? Take a moment, calm down, and do a calming activity. And then go back to face your task. Whatever calming activity is, it doesn't have to take long. It can take 2 minutes. It can take 30 seconds. It can take 5 minutes. If you're going to do, like, sometimes you can do a breathing exercise, right? Sometimes you can take yourself out of that environment, maybe walk around and then come back and sit down, right? Maybe you do, like I said, if you're maybe put on some music, do something different so that you're breaking state. And that is a physical manifestation of your breaking state, actually physically getting up from that place you are in and doing something else. And then do a calming activity. Do something that makes you feel calmer. The quickest thing is breathing exercises, okay? So you're not thinking about anything. Your mind isn't running, at 20,000 miles per hour. You're sitting and you're just breathing. And you could just do that for 5 breaths. 5 breaths does not take a long time to do. But you have to be conscious that I don't have to be overwhelmed and I can do something about it. Now, let me tell you this. The first time you do this, you're going to feel weird. You're going to, what kind of hippy-dippy nonsense is that? Let me tell you something. Look, me, I'm a strategy person. I'm a Nigerian girl. Like all this, we breathe, we do. But let me tell you something. It works, okay? it works. The last time I felt overwhelmed in my entire life was in 2011. Since then, I've never felt overwhelmed again. When I started to do these things on a constant basis and making sure that, when feelings of overwhelm come, I don't have to feel overwhelmed. I can do something about it. Change the way you think. Eventually, as you practice this, it will reprogram your subconscious to the point where the minute you feel overwhelmed, you will automatically start with breaking state, calming activity, go back to work. What happens is practice. Everything is about practice. It's not going to happen if you just do it once. They even say that it takes 28 days to program stuff into your subconscious. But guess what? If in 28 days you could actually say, I'll never feel overwhelmed again, isn't that a very good and emotionally resourceful state to be in? I think that it is. Because overwhelm does not serve you. So school your mind and emotions away from overwhelm towards clarity, calmness, and focus. Number 2, learn what your triggers are, okay? You might have internal, external, or environmental triggers that make feelings of overwhelm come up in you. Is it when your space is untidy? Is it deadlines? Is it certain people? And you can disempower those triggers when you realize what they are. Like, for example, and if you can't modify the trigger or the situation, modify your attitude towards the situation. For example, deadlines, right? I used to be overwhelmed by deadlines, but here's the truth. Deadlines will always be with you. Deadlines will always be with you unless you're dead. Yes, that's the truth. There's always going to be a task that you have to finish by a certain time, right? Something that you have to do. So what I did was, instead of seeing deadlines as, oh my goodness, I have to do this thing by this time, it's like, by the time I've done this on this day, I'll be free from it. And that changed a lot of ways. Now, I like deadlines. In fact, when people ask me to do something, I say, give me a deadline. Give me a deadline, and I'll probably have it even done before the deadline, because guess what? There's a deadline, and I'm looking forward to being free after I meet that goal by such and such a deadline, right? Okay. Now, number 3, develop a culture of prayer and meditation. I always say that prayer is from you to God, and meditation is from God to you. Develop a culture of prayer, meditation, centering, doing things that incorporate into your life things that lean towards calmness. Now, in this world, the world is frenetic. Rush. Get up in the morning, you have to rush, you have to take kids to school, it's rush, 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 rush. And we've lost the art of just purposefully being calm. I had a client whom I had to tell, schedule an hour of rest for yourself every day. Just schedule that. I'm not going to do anything. Because those things help your mental state. So that now you're incorporating more calmness into your life, and more calmness and less franticness. I don't know if that's a word or not. And less being frantic. Maybe we should make up a word, franticity. I will ask dictionary people if franticity is a word. And if it's not, I will ask them if I can add it to the dictionary. Yes. If bootylicious can be in the dictionary, franticity can be in the dictionary too. Anyway, so incorporating prayer, meditation, and other calm activities, things that make you feel peaceful into your life, will help you defeat overwhelmed feelings when they rear their ugly head. Now, number 4, get organized. Now, this is a practical strategy, right? Use lists, schedule things, use a calendar, declutter your space, your room, declutter your office, declutter your mind, your life, right? Plan your life. Okay? Get organized. Get organized. Make getting organized like one of your life priorities. Don't just go from thing to thing to thing to thing, or else you will always feel overwhelmed. And if you're not an organized person, right? Get someone in your life that's organized like that will be very happy to help you. Just put some structure in place. That will go a long way to defeating overwhelm. Number 5, multitask less. Did she say we shouldn't multitask? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said. Don't multitask. Instead of multitasking, task shift. Go from one task to another And then maybe if you have to change tasks, but not trying to do 20,000 things at the same time, because let me tell you something, honey, you can't do so many things at the same time. That multitasking thing is a fallacy, it's a big lie, and it will just make you feel more and more overwhelmed as your days go on. Don't buy into the fact that you have to multitask your way through life. It is not a healthy way to live, and is a guarantee that you will feel overwhelmed on an almost constant basis. Do one thing. I remember telling my daughter this. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I need to do now? And it helps me a lot. It's like, okay, what do I need to do now? What is the one thing? Not the three things. What's the one thing that I need to do now? And do that thing. And put all the other things out of your mind. And then when you finish doing that thing, do the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Instead of trying to do 4 things at once and not getting any of them done, feeling overwhelmed, and then you micro quit, right? Because, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Because you think that, oh, there's going to be some easy life down the street. You make the easy life for yourself. Like I say, you can have it all, but it takes not just waiting for it to happen, but actually making it happen. Multitask less. Number 6, be effective in the use of your time. Use your time wisely. Don't just procrastinate, waste time, leaving everything to the last minute. If you do that, you're bound to feel overwhelmed, because when you had time to do something, you're burying your head in the sand. Instead of doing it, or instead of getting help, sit down and decide. Now, I do have on my website, 𝒕𝒉𝒆𝒂𝒕.com, a little download for you. So you go there, you put in your email, and it'll be sent to you. It's called Making Time Out of No Time, and where by the time you read this and put the strategies into practice, you will be able to save 7 to 15 hours a week, because these strategies work for me, they work for and they're working for my clients. So go ahead, go to 𝒕𝒉𝒆𝒂𝒕.com. I will leave the links, and make that, and download that free of charge, and read it and put the tips into practice. That will go a long way to helping you deal with overwhelm. Be effective with the use of your time. Number 7, get help. Talk to your coach, your counselor, your mentor, your therapist, right? Get help. If you're having problems getting organized, if you feel overwhelmed constantly, talk to someone. I'm telling you, there are people who are only so willing to help you. You can go to my website and book a strategy session with me. We can talk through these things. And by the time I'm done with you, you'll be like, oh, okay, phew, life is not so hard, okay? So, to recap, stop feeling overwhelmed by doing the following things. 1, change the way you think. 2, learn what your triggers are. 3, develop a culture of prayer and meditation. 4, get organized. 5, multitask less. 6, be effective with the use of your time. And 7, get help. Get the help you need. There's no shame in our game. We get help, okay? If you're listening to them, if you listen to me or read anything I've ever written, you always know that I don't believe in the philosophy of I have to do everything myself. No man is an island. No one makes it on their own. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.